Sometimes when this place gets kind of empty, sound of their breath fades with the light. I think about the loveless fascination under the Milky Way tonight. And it's something quite peculiar, something shimmering and white. It leads you here despite your destination, under the Milky Way tonight. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. Under the Milky Way tonight, under the Milky Way tonight. Sometimes when this place gets kind of empty, the sound of their breath fades with the light. I think about the loveless fascination under the Milky Way tonight. And it's something quite peculiar, something shimmering and white. It leads you here despite your destination, under the Milky Way tonight. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. Under the Milky Way tonight, under the Milky Way tonight. Under the Milky Way tonight. Put a candle in the window, but I feel I got to move. But I'm gone, Lord, I'll be coming home soon. Long as I see the light. Pack my bags and let's get moving. 'Cause I'm bound to drift a while. When I'm gone, you don't have to worry no more, no, no. Long as I can see the light. Guess I've got that old traveling boat. 'Cause this feeling won't leave me alone. But I won't be losing my way, no, 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 no. Long as I can see the light. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Put a candle in the window. But I feel I got to move. But I'm gone, Lord, I'll be coming home soon. Long as I can see the light. Long as I can see the light. Pack my bags and let's get moving. 'Cause I'm bound to drift a while. When I'm gone, oh, you don't have to worry no more. Long as I can see the light. Guess I've got that old traveling boat. 'Cause this feeling won't leave me alone. But I won't be losing my way, no, no. Long as I can see the light. Long as I can see the light. But I'm gone, Lord, I'll be coming home soon. Long as I can see the light.
I know I'm not supposed to sing till you sing.
We're going to do I'll Fly Away now. I play it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. I'm confused.
And I ran over time, so.
morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Oh, how glad and happy when we'll meet. I'll fly away. No more cold iron shackles on my feet. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I'll fly away. I'll fly away. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're here with mixed emotions as we are here in seeing our loved ones and seeing family, and people are coming in from out. And we're here with mixed emotions too as we're mourning the loss of our beautiful Kathy and her husband of almost 50 years, Gary. But we take all of these feelings and we take all of these experiences and bring them right here and embrace them all as we celebrate their lives. Because none of us are going to get out of here alive. And how wonderful it is to celebrate such two wonderful lives and the beautiful family that is still here honoring them, and the friends and the people that they've touched along the way. So let's begin our service this morning with an opening prayer. And after that, we'll be blessed to hear from Debbie Martzoff sing a song that Catherine requested, the Prayer of St. Francis. So let us go within. And just taking a breath. and letting everything else go in order to be in this moment of peace. Peace, that which Kathy always called us to, be peaceful. And in this place of peace, we recognize and know that God is all there is. And we invoke and call upon this divine presence, Father God, infinite presence, divine spirit, by whatever name we call this Holy One. We know that we are nothing apart from it, that this presence beats our heart and leads our lives and guides us in every way. And so we affirm that today's service is blessed, and we affirm that everything that all of us do to remember Gary and Kathy, that we do with love in our hearts and openness and a sense of peace. And we're so grateful. We celebrate this day and each person that is here participating. And we let it be so in the name of all that is so very, very holy. We say, Amen. And so it is.
Make me an instrument of peace, Lord. Make me an instrument of peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow your love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is despair, let me bring your hope. Where there is doubt, share your faith. Where there is darkness, spread your light. Where there is sadness, let me share your joy. Where there is hatred, let me sow your love. Where there is injury, Lord, make me an instrument of peace. Lord, make me an instrument of peace. Oh, divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. Oh, divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek understanding as to understand, to be loved as to love, to be loved as to love.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Peace. I am the sister of Kathy Logan Landis, and we are here today to celebrate her life and the life of her loving husband, Gary. Excuse me for reading, I have a terrible memory. Okay. It is said that a life well lived will be remembered by the lasting effect it has on others. Judging from the many friends and family members here today, hers was a life that mattered to many. Kathy graced this world as the firstborn child of Colleen Barnwell Logan and George Logan on October 30th, 1944. As they looked adoringly upon their new precious child, I'm pretty sure that the sight of this tiny little beauty was the inspiration for an additional 7 children born in rapid succession, many born too in the same year. I am 15 months younger than Kathy. Mama swore that I was a late talker because the tiny bossy lady, as she lovingly called her, always spoke for me to make absolutely certain that all my needs were met. My goodness, by the time Kathy was 6 years old, there were 6 of us, and Mama was just 25. And what do you imagine was expected of the oldest child in a household where the mother not only had babies, but also worked? By the time Kathy was 12, she was left in charge. Mom was returning to work just 13 days after baby Aaron was born, many times leaving Kathy in charge of the new baby in her arms and then eventually on her hip, and 6 younger siblings. It was a sign of the times and the way things were. Kathy was an unusually beautiful child, and we all learned early on that she could act. I remember once in our very large junior high school, watching with pride as my sister performed a scene from Joan of Arc. She literally had 800 snarky little teenagers on the edge of their seats. In high school, she took multiple state competition trophies for her dramatic interpretation as a member of the National Forensic League. She took sweepstakes for our school many years in a row. Of course, being the oldest, and may I say, one of the popular kids, she was forced to drag me and my younger sister everywhere she went. She hated it, but being the good little Catholic girl that she was, she complied. At age 16, she learned to drive. I'll never forget her piling all 8 of us into a car and driving us to the movies. I mean, the day she learned to drive, we didn't know enough to be scared. At 18, she decided to pursue a television acting career. With high hopes of her and her usual confidence, she began to go on interviews. She quickly announced that it wasn't the life for her. Some producer thought he would introduce her to the so-called casting couch. He was wrong, and she was done. She decided not to pursue acting after that. As years passed by and we all went our separate ways, we saw each other only occasionally. I'd like to share some things I know for sure about her. She was an incredibly serious person and very private. She could always be counted on if you needed her. You could always find her at the bedside of a loved one. She had a deep talent also for rescuing children. She once took a child in whose mental, emotional, and behavior problems were so deep that his mother had completely given up on him. Kathy moved him into her home and began to work her magic. She left nothing to chance. She had him tested for allergies to discover that his allergies were affecting his behavior. She worked tirelessly with this child who couldn't even attend school. She made such a dramatic change in his life that his mother, a couple years later, came and kidnapped him back. In 2015, my daughter Vanessa was scheduled to have 13 vertebrae fused. It was a 7-hour surgery. Kathy, although fresh out of chemotherapy, proudly sporting a bald head, felt the need to be there to offer comfort and support. That's who she was. 2 years ago, her cancer had returned. I'm not saying that she's one of the toughest people I know, but I'm not saying it. After having a lumpectomy surgery at UCLA in Los Angeles, she drove herself back to Fresno. She told me, and when I was speaking to her, I was like really shocked. I said, "What, you drove yourself back?" She said, "Well, you know, Gary has a hard time driving on the freeway," so she literally drove herself home from a pretty serious surgery. She was receiving a new cancer treatment about a year ago. Miraculously, it shrunk all of her tumors. She was told at the time that it would last for close to 9 months, but the cancer would return. Sadly, it did. She was so incredibly hopeful that treatment was on the horizon. It was not to be. She was the first to help others, but she suffered alone. She cared for her husband until his death, then succumbed to her own illness just a week and a half later. Although I begged her repeatedly to let me come, she wouldn't. My sister Erin stayed at her side for all of her treatments and finally told me how poorly she was doing. I got a plane to Fresno as quickly as I could, running through the airport, sobbing along the way. Upon my arrival at the Fresno airport, I learned that she was already gone. I never got a chance to say goodbye. What a loss. She fought hard until the very last moment. She valiantly championed others while putting herself last. Most likely the caretaker in her. If she were here today, she would remind everyone to tell your loved ones how much you love them, to take care of each other, and choose kindness. You will be deeply missed, sis.
Thank you.
Well, can you feel the spirit and the energy? I'm quite used to Kathy over my shoulder listening to all my conversations. So hopefully this will put me at ease. Those of you that don't know me, I am Garrison Brent Landis. And growing up, my family all called me Brent to not confuse me with my dad, whose name was Gary. So Gary and Garrison were going to be too close. So my wife today said, well, you're just going to have to be Brent today. You know, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to get up here and give my dad's eulogy. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here in this wonderful church. Thankful for the abundance of talent that we have, who we're going to have the pleasure of listening to, and thankful for our sound and video tech people. I'm thankful for Jeanette and Linda and your prayers and thoughts to this point. There's a lot of emotions right now. That's not anything that I can hide. I'm not quite as techie as Linda. I did everything kind of old school, and I actually kind of wrote down some thoughts the day that my dad passed away, and I kind of wanted to start with a little bit of a thought-provoking Shakespearean quote, and that is that all the world is a play, and we are. I'm screwing it up. All the world is a stage, and we are merely players. And if you think about it, with the amount of people that have been passing away in the Logan and Landis family and friends, that life does seem a little surreal. And you sometimes wonder, are we really just players on the stage? When we get a little older and our mortality starts to overshadow us a little bit, we start to think of things like, did we sign up for this play? Are we, what's going to happen in the final act? And how come we can't go back and read our previous lines? these are a lot of questions that my dad had in the last year or so. And Kathy and I would try to explain to him in a simplistic way, because he didn't really have a religious background to speak of, and it almost seemed to confuse him that much more. But he had those thoughts, and I'm hoping that wherever he is, that those questions will be answered. So anyways, I know that most of you are here for Kathy. My dad really didn't want to serve us, but I figured since they were, almost married for 50 years, that she would give him a pass on this one. So let me start. So Gary Roger Landis was born in Wellington, Kansas in 1936. And like most poor families digging out of the Great Depression, he and his family had to work for everything. As he grew older, I think he was about 9 years old, his parents divorced, and he had a brother and a sister who were younger. And he always told me what a big impact that was on his life. And I'm sure that it must have pained him even more when he had to make a similar decision. He was a great athlete. He was a stocky young man, and he played football and ran in track. He was one of the better players on his team, and he mentioned one time that it was either for a season or two that no other football team that they played got past their 50-yard line, and so that's quite a feat. I think I got my running ability from him. I used to run track also. I think that his childhood years and just growing up in that kind of environment gave him the desire and determination to not only do good in sports, but also do good in life in general. He was line. Anyways, he was just a great dad, and it showed in both, his family life and in his business. After he graduated from high school, he'd had a short stint in junior college, and I guess that didn't quite work out, and he had some friends or family connections in California, and I think that a lot of small town people that want to make it big and show their family that they arrived sometimes flock to the big towns, and so that took him out to California, and he was given a job as an electrician. And so then, after working for a while as an electrician, he married and started a family out there on the West Coast, primarily in the Palm Springs area. And let's see, after he got enough experience as an electrician, he finally took on a job or a business. He started a business as a general contractor, as an electrician. And so we all knew that he was a hard worker. And as hard as he worked, he liked to play just as hard. And so being in Palm Springs, there was just a lot of things to do in the desert. And so we had dune buggies and mini bikes and motorcycles, and it just seemed like every weekend we were doing something. And occasionally we would go out to the beach, primarily in the Pismo area. And it seemed like he and Kathy liked to revisit that place quite often. But I think that he kind of discovered it on it, and that's what reason why they would like to go back to that area. We had he liked building homes too, and one of the first homes that he built was in the Cathedral City area, and it was just a huge house, and we had a pool before any of the neighbors had pools, and so. And they had many parties. They were involved in PTA and Lions Club and whatnot, and there was always parties going on. And so many envious friends got to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Later on, his life kind of turned a chapter in the book of life, and his business started to fail, and with it his marriage, and he had to venture out and get new connections, and they landed him down in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and that's where he met Kathy. He might have met her somewhere else, but that's where I think close enough. But we were just enamored with Kathy. She was such a light, and she took in just dozens of us. It seemed like it was like her house was a boarding house, and you could tell even as a young person the amount of love that they had for each other, and you can tell that by when someone loves somebody enough to give them their space, and they gave each other their space whenever they needed it. They would do a lot of motorhome traveling, and I've always said that two people that can travel thousands and thousands of miles in a motorhome together have a really good chemistry. I believe that they were at one, and meaning at one in purpose. I feel like if you knew Kathy, you knew Gary, and if you knew Gary, you knew Kathy. I was the first of many children to be raised and nourished by them. My siblings and cousins and even some grandchildren would later have the same opportunities. They even took in some children of friends. Now, not all was rosy then. You lived by Kathy's rules, and you found out quick that you didn't want to experience Kathy's wrath. As a young teenager, I can remember, going to school and running practice all week long, and thinking that I had Saturday and Sunday to just sleep in and lounge around, and 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, I'd hear a knock on my door. Time for Labor Day, get up. And you knew that you better get up right then and there, or Labor Day was going to last all day long, maybe even Sunday. Dad was a little bit different. He was more laid back and liked to play the good cop. it seemed like on the weekends we would always do, if we had chores to do with him, it would be like just fixing stuff. When we lived in Milpitas, we had a lot of farm animals, and Kathy enjoyed everything, ducks and geese and horses and cows and everything, and she was just, you wouldn't know that she wasn't raised like that, you know. She just always knew what to do with the animals. Yeah, so with Dad, the one thing that you had to endure was his potty jokes, and he liked to bring them out at the most inopportune time. And to Kathy's ire, you could always tell she was giving him that look across the table, like, don't do it, just, you know. And the rest of us are looking at her, and we're going, stop, you know, because we didn't. And for some reason, he would just cut his nose off to spite his face. His pride wouldn't let him not finish. So that's when we started calling Kathy Saint Kathy, because nobody could endure that much without being a saint. So my dad's big love was of course his grandchildren, and I would have to say his many motorhomes that he had. Each one was bigger and better than the other, and he and Kathy toured the country and would invite anybody to join in and travel with them. Kathy's love, of course, was all the many children that she nurtured. She loved to garden, and she really became really involved in her church. And I know she loved every single one of you guys that she came in contact with. One more thing I had to put in. I'm sure I'm probably walking over somebody else's message, but when Dad would and Kathy would show up with their motorhome, they had to play this song by Willie Nelson called "On the Road Again," and they would play that thing all the way down the road before they got to our house. And I mean, we enjoyed it, but we were also embarrassed because the rest of the neighborhood had to enjoy it too, you know, or bear with it. So I kind of wanted to keep this short. In closing, I just wanted to let you know that the Landis family and the Logan family were good people, and it shows because of the caring that my dad and Kathy had. If I could have you forget everything that I've told you up to this point, I would like to leave you with just the thought of that my dad and Kathy were just giving people. They were Samaritans. And just like in the Bible, where there was a parable where a man who had fallen from being accosted by thieves was laying in the street, and while people passed by him, a Samaritan stopped and picked him up and cleaned his wounds and made sure that he was fed and had a place to stay. And I think that Samaritan could have been Kathy or my dad. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
And Troy.
I talked to Jeanette, and Miranda was not able to make it today, so she said that I could say the Lord's Prayer. So please join me in saying the Lord's Prayer if you know it. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
For thine is the power and the... Amen.
Thank you. I know. I'm going to first read, it's in your program also. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I am in 1,000 winds that blow. I am the softly falling snow. I am the gentle showers of rain. I am the fields ripening grain. I am in the morning hush of the beautiful birds in circling flight. I am the starshine of the night. I am in the flowers that bloom. I am in a quiet room. I am in the birds that sing. I am in each lovely thing. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. My name is Julie, and I'm Dad's oldest child, and Kathy was my mom. And I wrote something. And it's funny because we didn't really, as kids, didn't really talk about, we just knew the basics of what we're going to say, and it does, it crosses over, so that's pretty cool. Kathy did not have any biological children of her own, and she served as a mother and role model to many of us, and her influence was huge. It takes time and effort to allow someone else's child to take your place in your heart, and Kathy had a big heart. I came into my father's life when he was young. My siblings' mother made me dresses and helped my mom through the early years. When Kathy married Dad, she took on the responsibility of us kids and reached out to my mother so I could be a part of their family. I went for Christmas visit in the early 70s, and the rest is history. Kathy also accepted my siblings on my mother's side. She invited them to their home for the holidays and accepted them as an extended part of the family. Dad worked out of town a majority of the time. He was the breadwinner, and Kathy raised us. I will always be grateful to Kathy for the many years she gave me with my father. I was blessed and had 2 families growing up, and with Kathy's help, I was able to maintain a relationship with my father. Dad and Kathy raised Dad's brother's children, Tina and Carrie, and from the time they were little, and they blended into our family and our lives, and we loved them dearly. Over the years, the children were a constant in our parents' homes. At one of their homes, they had a few domestic animals, a goat which she taught us how to milk, and yes, she made us drink the milk and the cream. To this day, I dislike goat's milk. I mean, we got caught dumping it down the sink a couple times, and that didn't go well. Anyway, we had a few domestic animals, as Brendan said. A rowdy rooster used to chase us, a couple of horses, baby colts that liked to bite if you got too close, and a pet steer that Brent named Beef that our folks turned into food. And anyway, our younger brother Ty has passed, but our brother had severe dyslexia when he was young. Kathy found a special trade school for him to go to, and she'd drive him 27 miles one way to catch the train each day and then turn around and pick him up. Seriously, without her determination to get Ty into a special school, he wouldn't have had a life trade as a mechanic. One particular child the folks took in for a period of time had special needs. Kathy dealt with his epilepsy episodes, his grand mal seizures, and kept him safe from serious harm. Kathy's nephew lived with the folks for a period of time, and as a young teenager, he got into trouble. She wrote letters for years to the parole board to get him released. She loved him dearly. Kathy took in various grandchildren for the summers and partial school years. When the time came for them to go home, they left with more than they came with, love and memories. Several of the grandchildren came back to live with the folks after they became adults. The folks loved to travel, bought multiple motorhomes over the years, as we said. They traveled all over the United States, taking us kids and the grandkids on many trips. It was always fun to hear the folks pull up to your house in the motorhome and hear the horn going off announcing their arrival. It was sad to hear them leave because you always knew they were going to play On the Road Again by Willie Nelson. And it went just blocks down. I mean, you could hear it. And it's a bittersweet memory for us. There are numerous children that came in the folks' life, and Kathy definitely had an impact on each of their lives. Kathy gave me her blessings to take my father on many father-daughter trips, and that gave her some quiet time with having him out of the house. We went to the beach a couple times, the coast and the desert. A few times Kathy decided to join us, and that's usually when we went to Pismo Beach, her favorite. I will always cherish those memories. Kathy had a deep inner faith, and it served her well. Years ago, she'd round up the children or grandchildren, whoever was in the household, and we talked about this last night. And she'd take them to church, and after Mass, she'd take them to visit the old folks' home and in the nursing homes, and the kids would hand out candy. She always had sugar-free and regular candy. Kathy taught me how to sew and cook, and she took us to plays and musicals, and she lent me romance novels to read. As the years went on, she introduced me and my children to the Catholic faith, in which I still participate. In the last year of her life, when I was visiting, I asked her if she wanted to go to church with me, and much to my surprise, she did. She hadn't been in a Catholic church in many, many, many years. I know it was hard, and she wasn't feeling well. She was in a lot of pain. She hid that fact from many people. She didn't go up for communion with me, but she smiled at me as I went up, and I felt like I had her blessing. The past year of her life, she dealt with her own illnesses while taking care of our father. That woman had strength of steel. I mean, she did. Even as adults, we kids turned instinctively to Kathy for advice on any given subject. We will miss her advice. Okay.
Hi, I'm Troy Landis, and Kathy is my stepmom, and Gary's my dad. I met Kathy when I was 13, and we had a rough start, just to be honest. But without her, I wouldn't be standing here right now, quite honestly. I was going down a bad road in my late teens, and she helped me get back on the right path. It got me into the military, helped me get into the military, which changed my life completely. Later in life, I was in the hospital after a major surgery, and she's the person that found me when I was almost completely gone. Without her walking in at that opportune time, I wouldn't be here right now. So literally, I am here because of Kathy. She was my everything. She's the person I turned to for advice. She was my strength. She was the rock of our family. I think Julie and Brent, Aunt Linda have touched on what a wonderful person she was, how she has served people her whole life. Her life was about service. The one thing I'd like to say is when I met her, we hadn't been going to church. We weren't brought up in going to church at all. So she introduced us to the Catholic Church. And I'd like to say proudly that when Kathy moved here, I had been going to the Church of Religious Science, Dr. Ernest Holmes. And Kathy came with me, and it was a life-changing experience for her. She found her home. And from then on, all of you know her story. And so I just would like to say, I think that she was not a quitter. She was a fighter, very private. She endured tremendous suffering quietly. And like I said, just such an inspiration to all that knew her. When I think about when she loved to shop, but not for herself. She shopped for everybody else. That was the reason she loved to shop. And I just remember, and I think I was talking to Carrie, that what was the one thing you remember Kathy saying the most to us? The most. And it was, be peaceful. Just be peaceful. Whenever we had a problem, all you had to do is just call her on the phone. And all I had to do is just talk to her, and I would feel at peace. Being in her presence, I would feel peaceful. Just immediately just turned me around. So with that, the last thing I would like to read is a poem that's called Look for Me in Rainbows. Time for me to go now. I won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows, way up in the sky. In the morning sunrise, when all the world is new. Just look for me and love me, as you know I loved you. Time for me to go now. I won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows, high up in the sky. In the evening sunset, when all the world is through, just look for me and love me, and I'll be close to you. It won't be forever. The day will come, and then my loving arms will hold you when we meet again, and we will. Time for us to part now. We won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows, shining in the sky. Every waking moment and all your life through, just look for me and love me as you know I love you. Just wish me to be near you, and I'll be there with you. Just look for me in the rainbows, and I'll be with you. Thank you. Be peaceful, everyone. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
So next we're going to be hearing from Sarah Mayo. And Kathy wanted this song sung at her service. It's called Breath of Heaven. She loved Sarah singing it. She used to listen to a video of her singing it over and over. Every time she got up to get ready, she'd play this video. Thank you, Sarah.
Which I wasn't aware of until the family shared with me, and I'm so honored that this was so uplifting for her. So yeah, this is Breath of Heaven. I hope you all enjoy it and feel Kathy energy here. I have traveled many moonless nights, cold and weary, with a babe inside, and I wonder what I've done. Holy Father, you have come and chosen me now to carry your Son. I am waiting in a silent prayer. I am frightened by the load I bear in a world as cold as stone. Must I walk this path alone? Be with me now. Be with me now. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near me. breath of heaven, breath of heaven, lighten my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, do you wonder as you watch my face, if a wiser one should have had my place? But I offer all I am for the mercy of your plan. Help me be strong, help me be, help me. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, lighten my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, lighten my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven.
Thank you, Sarah. I'd like to welcome up Carrie Landis and Tina Carell.
To the ones who don't know us, this is my twin sister, Carrie. I'm Tina. We are the youngest of the bunch. Okay. Your mother, it's always with you. She's whisper of love, living as you talk down the street. She's the smile of created food and remember. Flowers she picked, the Fresno, what's that word? The fragrance. For of life, it's yourself. She's cool hand on your bro when you are not feeling well. She breathed in the air on a cold winter day. She sounds of the raining that you sleep, the color of a rainbow. She is Christmas morning. Your mother lives inside your laughter. She plays you come from the first home she had, the map you follow with every step you take.
your first love, your first friend, even your first enemy. But not anything on earth can separate you, not time to space, not even a death. Dad, what I gave if you could say, "Hello, Dad," in the same old way, to hear his voice, to see his smile, to sit with him and chat for him a while. So if your father is still here, crushing with him with care for your care, for all never know the hardest touch you will until you see his empty chair. I miss you, Dad.
Let's welcome up Elena, and the band is going to get up and get ready to.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm Kathy's granddaughter. I recognize a lot of you here. I was thinking for a really long time what I could say. She did mean so much to me. I was a lot more put together at the beginning of this, but so it kind of sucks that I was last. But I was searching for something to say for quite a while, and I was looking for a paper with my mom a couple days ago, and I had found this little card that I wrote my name on, and I was like, haha, look, like I wrote my S backwards, like, look how cute I was, showing my mom. And I pulled the paper out, and on an old Church for Today card, there was a quote. And I feel like that was my grandma sending me the exact thing to say, because she knew I was struggling. So I'm going to read that. Peace be unto thee. Stranger, enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and you are welcome to my home. There's room in my home for all. I have swept the hearth and light the fire. The room is warm and cheerful. You will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is here also. It sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you, where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat the fruit and drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. I felt like that is exactly what I needed to say. And it's so crazy how everything in life happens. And she, out of everyone, told me that nothing happens just for a reason. And I think that this was my reason to find this. Thank you.
Oh, a man is placed upon the steps, and a baby cries. High above you can hear the church bells start to ring. And as the heaviness, the body settles in, somewhere you can hear a mother sing. Then it's one foot, then the other, as you step out on the road. Step out on the road. How much weight? How much? Then it's how long and how far and how many times. Oh, before it's too lane, calling all angels, calling all angels, walk me through this one, don't leave me alone, calling all angels, calling all angels, we're trying, we're hoping, but we're not sure how. On every day you gaze upon the sunset with such love and intensity. Why, it's almost as if you could only crack the code, then you'd finally understand what this all means. Ah, but if you could, do you think you would trade in all the pain and suffering? Ah, but then you would have missed the beauty of the light upon this earth and the sweetness of the leaving. Calling all angels, calling all angels, walk me through this one, don't leave me alone. We're not sure how. Calling all angels, calling all angels, walk me through this one, won't leave me alone. Oh, calling all angels, calling all angels, we're trying. We're hurting, we're loving, we're crying, we're calling, but we're not sure how this goes.
And please welcome up Reverend Vicki Hurd, representing New Thought Community, where Kathy most recently served.
Hi, good afternoon. This feels really big. Kathy Landis and I traveled the path together for a couple of decades. It feels like a few lifetimes for me. And, you know, so many life changes or whatever. She was an amazing friend. We went through science and mind classes, and I know there's a lot of you that have been through classes and you get this special connection with people in those classes, and we had that connection. And because of that, sometimes there were words that were like, what? So it wasn't always lovely, but when you have a real friend, a real heart-to-heart friend, you can have those conversations. And through Science of Mind, we would, I came from a completely non-religious background, and you've heard all of her religious experience. And so after class, Church for Today, we would be in the Save Mart parking lot because the office was there. And one time my partner called and said, "Where are you?" Class had been out for 2 hours and we were still standing in the parking lot talking. So we had that bond, and Elena and my daughter are really close in age, so we had that connection, and just so many things over the years. She was a fierce practitioner. She could know the truth for you when there was you had zero comprehension or ability to imagine what she was knowing for you. And she kind of helped me get that too. She helped me like so many times. I remember a Bass Lake convention, and we were in second year, and Jeanette had asked me to do a treatment in front of this big group of ministers. And I was like, what? And Kathy, we were walking up this hill, it was asphalt, Bass Lake, and she's like, "You got it. You totally got it. You're the perfect person for that job." And I was like, okay, well, she believes it, I'll believe it too. So she just really was one of those people that always knew, and she was no nonsense. No nonsense. When it came to consciousness and saying, something to the negative, she would give you a quick and firm, cancel clear. Cancel clear, that's not the truth about you. So she demonstrated, through her illnesses or whatever, but she demonstrated that the details don't matter. That the story doesn't matter. If you went to her, if I had to vent, she wasn't the one I called. Because she wasn't wanting you to get all up in the story to figure out what you needed to know about yourself and what truth it was. She would just go straight to it. And I know that her kids had that same thing. They got that same thing. And so, fierce practitioner, her prayers, affirmative prayers, were deep, to the point, and powerful. She didn't have to go on and on and on. She was just, but the loveliness, the essence that she spoke with when she was in that zone, we know what this is. She lived that consciousness. It wasn't like she studied it and then talked about it on Sunday. She lived it. And we are better for having known her. Her ability. So, I wasn't going to say this, but this always happens to me. We went through cancer treatment at the same time. And she was way more fierce about it than me. She didn't stop doing one thing, and I stopped doing everything. And so her cheerleaderness, our cheerleaderness for each other, brought us this bond that was just fierce. And when she, last year when they said, you probably have a couple months to keep doing this world, we had a long conversation, and we decided that wasn't the truth about her, and she wasn't going to tell anybody. And so I had that secret, and as she would get the good reports and the medicine was working, and I'm like, you need to tell everybody. You need to tell everybody that it's working, so everybody could be excited as I am and hold that energy for you. She was like, no, I'm speaking in July, and I'll be sharing it then. this was like May or June. And so, anyway, you know, she really just was a powerful, powerful woman. And she would say, "It's not me that does the work, it's the universe conspiring for my good." Her faith was probably the strongest muscle in her body. And when you talk about service, she came to us, Church for Today, and was like, "Oh, well, I used to be a volunteer coordinator in the Catholic Church." Swoop, she was all in and being of service. And she taught others how to, I have this little thing I wrote, maybe I'll say it. She could wrangle volunteers like nobody. She might make an announcement during church and say, "We need volunteers," but that was just a warning. She lived a life of service, and she didn't wait for you to say, "Oh, what can I do?" She walked up to you and said, "What you doing?" And you said, or she would tell you what to do, and she would tell you how much you're going to love it. She was a great bedside minister, and I remember having a conversation with her about that, and because that's not really my gig. Maybe better now, but anyway, she would go to, like, she always knew when people were sick, and like she was the go-to person. And I'm going to St. Agnes, I'm going, and she would always visit people in the hospital and really know that this wasn't the truth about them. And then in the early 2000s, she started volunteering, representing religious science in the community in the Interfaith Alliance. And she was very involved in that. And I remember one particular barbecue that a lot of you were at was at O'Neill Park at Fresno State. And earlier this year, even, she was of service to a whole group of ministers and practitioners and set it up that we got to go to all these different churches and temples and religious facilities. And she knew all those people. And all of those people every week would talk about, she wasn't able to go all the weeks, but every week the people at that facility would talk about how lovely she was and just their experience with her. And it was just, when she said she was going to do it, I was all in, because I knew that this might be our last time doing something like that. So it was really special. When one door closed, Kathy opened her own church, and she did that well. She gave sermons every week and was going through chemo, and that's not fun, and that was not easy. And she was powerful, and she, like her family said, didn't talk about that. And it's beyond, I can't imagine how powerful her consciousness, how high of a level of consciousness she lives at. So we are better because we knew Kathy Landis. Her light is right here and right now, shining upon each of us. Her wisdom is a breath away. We need only ask. We are blessed to have known her. We rejoice in knowing she lived a powerful, faith-filled life, a life of service. We celebrate with an abundance of gratitude for our connections, our time with her, and all the love that she shared with each of us. So thank you for letting me be this. Thank you.
Well, it has absolutely made my heart so wide open to hear from the family. Reverend Vicki, you did my talk as well, so thank you for that. We shared all of those experiences, didn't we? And I won't take too long because there's a little bit more that we want to do, but Reverend Kathy walked into the Church for Today, where I was the senior minister in early 2000, and became my rock, became my right-hand person. And there is no way I could have ever done any ministry like Manifested without Reverend Kathy. She wasn't a Reverend then. She was my Kathy. In the very beginning, one of the biggest challenges of a minister and something like that is absolutely the volunteers. Like getting people to be your soldiers, right? There's a lot of work to do. And I was in class one time and I said something like, oh, we really need some help with this. Kathy got right up there. She came, pulled me aside after the class, and she said, Jeanette, I was the volunteer coordinator at the Catholic Church. I'm sure I can do it here. I just, really? So she jumped right in, and she really became the general, being able to get those soldiers in line and get them doing stuff. And they, like Vicki said, yep, and they will have fun doing it. And one of the greatest lessons that I learned from Kathy was to let go of control. Now, you wouldn't think you'd get that from Kathy, because Kathy could be in control, right? And I'm kind of the same. We're kind of like both older sisters handling a big family. And but she taught me how to let go of control when there was nothing else you could do. Like, it is what it is. That's it. This is what's happening now, okay? It is what it is. I guess if no coffee comes in the morning, I guess we won't have coffee. I guess if they don't show up, I guess that's the way it is. If something happens, okay, that's just the way it is. You work real hard. You have a goal. You work towards it, and then you let it go. And she was the queen at both, of letting go of that attachment to this is what's happening now and to being in the moment. Kathy and I became very close, and we pretty much ran that church and the next church, which would be called the Oneness Center, from Starbucks. That's where we'd have our weekly meetings at Starbucks. It wasn't really called a meeting, it was called coffee, or the gym. But Kathy was the place that I went to let it all out and share all my deepest problems and sadness and anxiety and worries. Kathy was my ear that was in the ministry with me. Kathy was my rock. There would have been, all of you guys that really thought and enjoyed it and said, oh, that Reverend Jeanette does a great job. There would have been none of that without Kathy. Kathy was the solid rock underneath everything. That would just be like, hey, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's just done. It's just done. It's in the mind of God. Once it's in the mind of God, it's just done. You don't need to worry about a thing. It's in the mind of God. And she always say that. It's in the mind of God. That's not the truth about you. When I had challenges with my family or anything else, it was always like, well, you got to pull out the big guns. You know who you need to call? Reverend Kathy. You pull out the big guns when you need her. You need the major practitioner. Kathy was that, and so much more. Kathy touched so many people. Talk about a heart of service. She had the gift, a gift I never even have a clue about. Just that compassionate service to sit with them and bring in the food, like bring in the food, bring in the stuff, get the plates on, gather up all the babies, and then sit and tell you how everything's going to be fine. Our world was changed because of Kathy Landis. Our hearts were opened because of Kathy. Some of lives were saved because of Kathy. Children were raised because of Kathy. Grandchildren were raised because of Kathy. We were all so very blessed. And the greatest thing that we can do is to take that love that she gave us and showed us and manifested and demonstrated for us. And the best thing that we can do is to continue to spread that and to be that light in our own lives. And to remember that life, it doesn't end with the body, that life is eternal. Kathy knew that. She lived in both realms. She lives in both realms. We will continue to feel her presence. We can call upon her and ask for her blessing too. She can be the guardian angel. She can be there because she hasn't left us. She hasn't gone anywhere. I'll finish with something I know she loved, and from our great teacher, Ernest Holmes, in talking about eternality and immortality. Where we learned that there was this one God, this one life, that it cannot die. It only changes forms. I shall never die, for the spirit within me is of God and cannot change. My life is within the universe of love and light, and that light shall live forever. That which is cannot become that which is not, and that which I am can never change. From eternity to eternity, my life flows along the way of peace and harmony. As we watch the slideshow that her family lovingly produced, let us feel into how her presence has touched each of us. Thank you. Thank you. Who put that together? Thank you. Was that your son? I know. Thank you. That made everything. It was great to see the pictures of her so young and long ago. That was beautiful. We're going to prepare for a closing ritual prayer to say goodbye and a blessing for Gary and Kathy. And after that, immediately after that, we want to thank the New Thought community for providing some food and refreshments outside. We appreciate them organizing that. I mean, I thought, who's going to bring the food if Kathy doesn't organize it? I'm like, call the church ladies. So thank you so much for doing that. And then also, as soon as we complete, Barb and Solo, as you know, played music at her recent church, the Spiritual Life Center, for many years, and they were sad that they couldn't be here today, but they created a musical video of them singing some of the songs that they sang at her church. So that will just be playing as we're going out, and you're welcome to sit and watch that. So we want to thank Barb and Solo for doing that, and thank all the musicians and the speakers for being here to help create the beautiful space. So thank you so much for being here, each and every one. And I forgot to mention Miranda Mayo. Many of you know Miranda and Sarah sang for the churches since they were about 3 or 4. Same time, Elena and then Sarah, little babies running around the churches. And Miranda wanted so much to be here and was planning on being here, and her flight got delayed so late that she couldn't get out of Chicago. But she sends all of her love to everyone, and we thank you for that. So let's prepare now for a closing prayer.
Lead me to the light. Lead me to the light. Help me to make it through. Lead me into the light.
So I suggest we close our eyes now and offer a prayer for Kathy and Gary. Kathy and Gary, thank you for your love, your caring, your giving, and your sharing. Our world will always be a better place because you were here. We hold you in our heart and know that your memory is instilled in us forever. And we release you to continue your journey in the light, knowing you are forever blessed. May God bless you and keep you until we meet again.
Make my eyes to see all that I could be. Help me to see it through. Lead me into the light.
And imagine them saying to you, remember us with light and love. Let gratitude fill your heart. Thankful for the time we had, gone yet not apart. Celebrate the life we lived. We will be watching from above. We are always with you, blanketing you in warmth and love.
Turn my night to day. Take the hurt away. Help me to be with you. Lead me into the light.
And so bathed in this light and bathed in this love that is so fully present right here and right now, God, hold them in your loving arms and in your spirit and guide their journey and bless them. And we ask your presence to bless the family and the loved ones that are left behind for a time, that each one may be comforted and blessed. We give thanks for this holy day. In all that is holy, we are so very grateful. We say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And together we say, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. So we'll enjoy that, and we'll meet you out for a little refreshment. Thank you so much for being here.
Conscience of unity on its way, coming on angels' wings, on beautiful rays. No more duality, no hardened schemes, no shattered hearts, no broken dreams, all is well. Love is all we see. When love is all we see, we soften our shell. Our vision is clearer now, and know all is well. No more duality, no hardened schemes, no shattered hearts, no broken dreams, all is well. Love is all we see. Only an angel's touch will heal our souls, and when we're open, the parts become whole.